When 32-year-old marketing executive Rachel Martinez appeared before Judge Frank Caprio with 7 parking tickets issued in just 4 days, the prosecutor was convinced she was running a scam. But when Frank asked how a completely blind woman could rack up violations across 3 different cities, what Rachel revealed about her guide dog, Luna's mysterious behavior, the underground parking enforcement quota system, and the one officer who refused to stop following her, would expose the dark side of traffic enforcement and prove that sometimes the law protects revenue over people. Before we get into this unbelievable story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for all Rise. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and whether you think parking enforcement has gone too far in your city. We love hearing from our amazing community. Providence Municipal Court had never seen anything quite like this. When Rachel Martinez's name echoed through the courtroom, heads turned as a striking woman in a professional Navy suit walked in, guided by a magnificent black Labrador wearing a bright blue service vest with the name Luna embroidered in white letters. Judge Frank Caprio looked up from his papers and immediately noticed the white cane folded and attached to Rachel's belt and the way her guide dog navigated her smoothly through the crowded courtroom. "Miss Martinez, please approach the bench," Frank said warmly, "and your service dog is absolutely welcome here." Rachel moved forward with Luna leading her expertly around the chairs, her path precise despite the obstacles. Her eyes had the unfocused appearance of someone with no vision, yet her posture radiated confidence and professionalism. "Miss Martinez," Frank began, spreading out a shocking stack of documents before him, "I'm looking at 7 parking citations issued to you over a span of just 4 days. All 7 were issued in different locations across Providence, Cranston, and Warwick." Rachel stood straight, her hand gently resting on Luna's head. "Yes, Your Honor, I'm aware of all 7 tickets." Frank set down his reading glasses and looked at Rachel with genuine confusion. "Miss Martinez, I need to ask you something directly. Are you visually impaired?" "Yes, Your Honor. I'm completely blind. I've had no vision since I was 6 years old due to a degenerative condition." Frank picked up the tickets again, examining them more closely. "Then help me understand something. These are all parking violations, some for expired meters, some for parking in no parking zones, and 2 for blocking fire hydrants. How is someone who cannot see getting parking tickets?" Rachel's answer would reveal a calculated targeting. "Your Honor, I don't drive. I've never had a driver's license. I can't drive," Rachel explained clearly, her voice steady but tight with controlled frustration. "Those 7 tickets were all issued to the same vehicle, a 2022 Honda Civic registered to my sister, Carmen Martinez. She's been driving me to work and appointments while my usual transportation was unavailable." The courtroom stirred with murmurs. Frank leaned forward, his interest clearly piqued. "So these tickets were issued to your sister's vehicle while she was driving you?" "Yes, sir. But here's what's disturbing. All 7 tickets were written by the same officer, Officer Derek Paulson. And he knows I'm blind. He knows my sister is the driver. Yet somehow every single ticket has my name on it as the registered owner and the person allegedly responsible." Frank's expression shifted from confusion to concern. "The same officer issued all 7 tickets in 4 days?" "Yes, Your Honor. And it gets worse." The pattern of harassment was about to be exposed. Frank asked Rachel to walk him through each ticket in detail. She pulled out her smartphone, which immediately began speaking aloud as she navigated it with precise swipes and taps, a text-to-speech system reading everything on her screen. "The first ticket was on Monday, October 21st, Rachel began, pulling up her detailed notes. My sister Carmen picked me up from my apartment at 7:45 a.m. to drive me to my job at Anderson Marketing Group downtown. She parked on the street outside my building in a legal spot. No signs, no restrictions, no meter. What happened? We were inside my apartment for maybe 3 minutes while I grabbed my laptop bag. When we came out, there was a ticket on the windshield. Expired meter. But, Your Honor, there is no meter on that block. The ticket even has the wrong address. It says 47 Wickenden Street when my building is on 52 Wickenden. Frank made a note. And Officer Paulson wrote this ticket? Yes, sir. I checked the citation immediately using my phone's camera and OCR app. That's optical character recognition. It reads text aloud to me. His badge number was on it. Did you encounter the officer? Rachel's jaw tightened. We did. He was sitting in his patrol vehicle across the street watching us. When I asked him about the ticket using my phone to photograph and read it, he said, and I quote, "The ticket speaks for itself, ma'am. You can contest it in court if you want to waste your time." Frank's eyebrows rose. He saw you were blind? Your Honor, I was holding my white cane and Luna was in full-service vest. There's no way he didn't know. The second ticket revealed an escalating pattern. The second ticket was that same Monday at 12:30 p.m., Rachel continued. Carmen drove me to a client lunch at Gracie's restaurant downtown. She dropped me off at the front entrance, pulled into the loading zone for literally 90 seconds while I got out with Luna. Another ticket? Another ticket. This time for unauthorized use of loading zone. Officer Paulson was parked 2 cars down. He wrote the ticket while Carmen was still sitting in the driver's seat waiting for me to get safely inside with Luna. Frank looked stunned. He ticketed her while she was in the vehicle? Yes, sir. Carmen tried to explain she was just dropping off her blind sister, that she wasn't parking, just unloading. Officer Paulson told her that's what they all say, and finished writing the ticket. The third, fourth, and fifth tickets showed systematic targeting. Rachel's voice grew more strained as she detailed the subsequent violations. Tuesday morning, October 22nd, third ticket. Carmen picked me up at 7:50 a.m. We stopped at the Starbucks on Westminster Street so I could grab coffee before work. Legal parking spot, no meter, no restrictions. We were inside for 6 minutes. Officer Paulson ticketed us for blocking traffic flow, even though we were parked parallel to the curb in a marked space. Fourth ticket, same day, 5:30 p.m. Carmen picked me up from work. She was in a 15-minute pickup zone outside my building. Officer Paulson drove by, circled back, and wrote a ticket for exceeding posted time limit. Your Honor, we'd been there for 3 minutes. Frank was taking notes rapidly. This is the same officer, same vehicle following you? It gets worse, Your Honor. Fifth ticket, Wednesday, October 23rd. Carmen drove me to my doctor's appointment at Rhode Island Hospital. She dropped me at the main entrance and went to park in the garage. While I was inside for my appointment, Officer Paulson somehow got into the hospital parking garage and ticketed Carmen's car for unauthorized parking in hospital staff section, even though she had a valid parking ticket from the garage. How did he even know to look there? That's what we asked ourselves. The only explanation is that he followed us and waited. The sixth and seventh tickets crossed into stalking territory. Rachel's hands trembled slightly as she described the final 2 tickets. Thursday, October 24th. Sixth ticket. Carmen and I decided to try a different route to avoid Officer Paulson. We left at 7:30 a.m. instead of our usual time and drove through Cranston instead of our normal route through Providence. We stopped at a CVS pharmacy so I could pick up a prescription. Let me guess. Officer Paulson was there? He was there, Your Honor. In Cranston, outside his normal jurisdiction. He wrote a ticket for parking in fire lane, even though Carmen was in a designated pickup spot with hazard lights on, and I was only inside for 4 minutes. Frank's expression darkened. That's crossing city lines to issue tickets. The 7th ticket was the most disturbing, Rachel said, her voice shaking now. That same Thursday evening, Carmen drove me to Target in Warwick for groceries. We parked in a regular parking space, completely legal, with plenty of time on the meter. We were shopping together. Carmen helps me navigate the store with Luna. When we came out an hour later, there was a ticket on the windshield, this time for obstructing handicapped access, because we'd supposedly parked too close to a handicapped space. But, Your Honor, the parking space we were in was a standard spot, 3 spaces away from the handicapped section. And Officer Paulson? We saw him. He was parked across the lot in his patrol car in Warwick, 2 cities away from his Providence jurisdiction, watching us load groceries into the car. Frank immediately launched an investigation into Officer Paulson. Frank called for a recess and requested that Officer Derek Paulson report to the courthouse immediately. He also called the Providence Police Department's Internal Affairs Division and requested Paulson's ticket-writing records for the past 6 months. Captain Jennifer Walsh, from Internal Affairs, arrived within the hour, bringing a thick file of documents. Your Honor, Captain Walsh began, her expression grim, Officer Paulson's ticketing pattern is problematic. In the past 6 months, he's written 1,847 parking citations. That's more than 3 times the department average. Frank looked up sharply. 3 times? Yes, sir. The average officer writes about 600 citations in 6 months. Paulson has written over 1,800, and there's a pattern. He seems to target the same vehicles repeatedly. How many repeat targets? We've identified 23 vehicles that received 5 or more tickets from Officer Paulson in the past 6 months. Rachel Martinez's sister's vehicle is one of them. But there are others, including 3 vehicles owned by elderly residents and 5 owned by people with documented disabilities. Frank's face flushed with anger. He's targeting vulnerable people. It appears that way, Your Honor. And there's another issue. 78 of his tickets were written outside Providence city limits, which raises jurisdiction questions. Luna's secret would explain everything. During the investigation break, Frank asked Rachel about Luna's training and behavior. Miss Martinez, I noticed something unusual. When you and Luna walked through the courtroom, she seemed to hesitate and look around more than typical guide dogs do. Is there something different about Luna's training? Rachel's face showed a mix of relief and anxiety. Your Honor, this is what I've been trying to tell people, but no one believes me. Luna has been acting strangely for the past 2 weeks. She's trained by guide dogs for the blind. She completed 2 years of intensive service dog training, but recently she's been exhibiting unusual alert behaviors. What kind of behaviors? She stops suddenly and looks around. She pulls me toward parked cars and sniffs around them, especially around wheels and bumpers. She gets anxious when certain vehicles approach. At first I thought she was distracted or losing her training, but then I realized she's been alerting me to Officer Paulson's vehicle. Frank leaned forward. She recognizes his car? More than that, Your Honor. Luna has been trained in dual-purpose work. Before she came to me, she was being trained as a police detection dog, but she didn't have the right temperament for police work, too gentle, so she was retrained as a guide dog, but she retained some of her detection training. Detection of what? Rachel pulled out her phone and navigated to a video file. Your Honor, with your permission, I'd like to show you something. Frank watched as Rachel played a video, the phone's screen reader describing the content aloud for Rachel. "This is from my apartment building's security camera," Rachel explained. "Tuesday night, October 22nd, around 11 p.m. You can see Officer Paulson's patrol vehicle parked across from my building. Watch what happens." The video showed Officer Paulson getting out of his patrol car, looking around, then walking up to a silver Honda Civic parked on the street, Carmen's car. He appeared to examine it with a flashlight, taking photos with his phone, and then placed something under the windshield wiper. "He put another ticket on the car at 11 p.m. at night," Frank said, astonished, "while it was legally parked overnight." "That's 8 tickets, Your Honor, but that one wasn't included in these 7 because Carmen found it the next morning and thought it was a flyer. By the time we realized it was a citation, we'd already requested this court date for the other 7. "But what does this have to do with Luna's behavior?" Rachel took a deep breath. "Your Honor, Luna's detection training included alerting to electronics and tracking devices. For the past week, she's been obsessively sniffing around Carmen's car, particularly around the wheel wells and under the bumper. Yesterday, we had a mechanic friend examine the car." "And?" "He found a magnetic GPS tracker hidden inside the rear bumper. It wasn't from any legitimate source. No rental car company tracker, no dealership anti-theft device. Someone planted it there." The courtroom erupted in shocked murmurs. Officer Paulson was called to testify. When Officer Derek Paulson entered the courtroom, Frank's expression was severe. Paulson was a stocky man in his late 40s with a red face and an aggressive swagger. "Officer Paulson, please take the stand." Paulson sat down, looking annoyed rather than concerned. "Officer Paulson, did you issue 7 parking citations to a 2022 Honda Civic, license plate Rhode Island 847MJX, registered to Carmen Martinez between October 21st and October 24th of this year?" "If it's in the system, then yes, I wrote those tickets." "Did you notice that the same vehicle received tickets from you 4 days in a row?" "I don't memorize every car I ticket, Your Honor. If they're parked illegally, they get ticketed." Frank picked up the list Captain Walsh had provided. "Officer Paulson, you've written 1,847 parking citations in the past 6 months. That's 3 times the department average. Why?" Paulson shrugged. "I'm thorough. I do my job. Some officers are lazy. I'm not." "You wrote 78 tickets outside Providence city limits. How do you explain writing tickets in Cranston and Warwick when you're a Providence officer?" "Multi-jurisdictional cooperation agreements allow officers to enforce parking violations across municipal boundaries when in pursuit of ongoing violations." Frank's eyes narrowed. "Were you pursuing Miss Martinez's sister's vehicle?" Paulson hesitated for the first time. "I noticed a pattern of parking violations and maintained observation." "For 4 days? Across 3 cities? Including watching her apartment at 11 p.m.? "I was on patrol." Frank held up a photo. "Officer Paulson, are you familiar with magnetic GPS tracking devices?" Paulson's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "A GPS tracker was found on Carmen Martinez's vehicle. It was discovered by a mechanic after Miss Martinez's guide dog, Luna, kept alerting to the vehicle's rear bumper. Luna has detection training. She was originally trained as a police detection dog before becoming a guide dog." The courtroom went silent. "The tracker's serial number has been traced," Frank continued. "It was purchased 3 weeks ago from a surveillance equipment supplier. The credit card used for the purchase belongs to you, Officer Paulson." Paulson stood up abruptly. "I want a lawyer." "Sit down, officer," Frank commanded. "We're not done." The systematic quota abuse was exposed. Captain Walsh took the stand to provide additional context. "Your Honor, our investigation into Officer Paulson's ticketing patterns revealed something disturbing. While Providence doesn't have an official quota system for parking tickets, Officer Paulson has been operating under an unofficial performance metric system of his own design." "Explain," Frank demanded. "We found records in his patrol vehicle showing that he'd been tracking his monthly ticket revenue generation. He'd written in a notebook that he needed to generate $50,000 in parking fines per month to be considered a top performer for a traffic enforcement position he was hoping to get. He was inventing violations to hit revenue numbers?" "It appears so, Your Honor. Of the 1,847 tickets he wrote in 6 months, we've reviewed 342 so far. Of those, 127 contain errors, inaccuracies, or questionable circumstances, wrong addresses, incorrect violation codes, tickets written in legal parking spots, or tickets issued outside his jurisdiction." Frank was furious. "And the targeting of disabled individuals and elderly people?" Officer Paulson's notebook contained notes about easy targets, people less likely to contest tickets. He specifically noted that disabled people don't fight tickets because it's too much hassle to get to court. Rachel spoke up from her seat, her voice shaking with anger. "He assumed I wouldn't fight because I'm blind. He thought I couldn't navigate the court system." Frank's voice was cold. He was wrong. Frank's ruling would end a predatory enforcement career. After hearing all testimony and reviewing all evidence, Frank delivered his verdict. "Officer Derek Paulson, stand up." Paulson stood, his earlier confidence completely gone. "I'm dismissing all 7 tickets issued to Carmen Martinez's vehicle. Furthermore, I'm ordering the Providence Police Department to immediately review every single ticket you've written in the past year and dismiss any that contain inaccuracies or were issued outside your jurisdiction." Frank wasn't finished. "I'm also filing a formal complaint with the Rhode Island Police Standards and Training Council regarding your conduct. Placing a GPS tracker on a civilian's vehicle without a warrant is stalking and harassment. Following Miss Martinez and her sister across city lines while targeting them with false tickets is abuse of authority." Paulson opened his mouth to speak, but Frank held up his hand. "You preyed on someone you thought couldn't fight back. You assumed that because Rachel Martinez is blind, she would be helpless to challenge your abuse. You were wrong, and your career in law enforcement is over." Frank turned to Rachel. "Miss Martinez, I apologize on behalf of this court and this city for what you endured. Your guide dog Luna's detection training may have saved you from months more of this harassment. She's a remarkable animal." At the mention of her name, Luna's tail wagged slightly. The systemic review revealed hundreds of victims. Frank ordered a comprehensive review of all parking tickets issued by Providence Parking Enforcement over the past year. The results were staggering. Of the 1,847 tickets Officer Paulson had written, 743 were found to be erroneous, fraudulent, or issued improperly. They were all dismissed, but the investigation didn't stop there. It revealed that 4 other Providence officers had been operating similar quota-based ticketing schemes, though none as aggressive as Paulson's. In total, 1,329 parking tickets were dismissed, resulting in $387,000 in fines being refunded to Providence residents. The 23 vehicles that Paulson had repeatedly targeted were all contacted. 12 belonged to elderly residents, 8 to people with disabilities, and 3 to low-income families who worked evening shifts and parked in areas Paulson patrolled. "This is institutional predation," Frank announced at a press conference. "Parking enforcement exists to maintain public safety and traffic flow, not to generate revenue by targeting vulnerable people." Rachel became an advocate against quota-based policing. Rachel used her experience to launch a non-profit called Fair Enforcement Watch, dedicated to monitoring parking enforcement practices and helping people contest unjust tickets. "People think parking tickets are minor annoyances," Rachel explains in presentations to city councils. "But for people living paycheck to paycheck, a $75 parking ticket can mean choosing between paying that fine or buying groceries. When officers target vulnerable people systematically, it's not just harassment, it's economic violence." Her organization has helped contest over 2,000 parking tickets across Rhode Island with an 83% success rate. "Officer Paulson assumed I'd be an easy target because I'm blind," Rachel says. "But blindness doesn't mean helplessness. And having Luna, with her detection training, meant I had a partner who literally sniffed out the tracking device he planted on my sister's car." Luna's unique training became a model for dual-purpose service dogs. Luna's combination of detection training and guide dog work attracted attention from service dog training organizations nationwide. Guide Dogs for the Blind, the organization that trained Luna, began a pilot program for dual-purpose service dogs, animals that provide guide services while also retaining detection capabilities for explosives, narcotics, or electronics. Luna's case showed us that dogs who don't quite fit the temperament for police work can still use that training beneficially in service dog roles, explains Sandra Morrison, Director of Training at Guide Dogs for the Blind. Luna was too gentle for police work, but that gentleness combined with her detection abilities makes her perfect for guiding Rachel, while also providing an extra layer of awareness about her environment. Luna now has her own social media following, over 350,000 followers on Instagram, where Rachel posts about guide dog etiquette, disability rights, and Luna's daily adventures. One particularly viral post shows Luna sitting next to the GPS tracker that was removed from Carmen's car with the caption, "They tried to track us. Luna tracked them instead." Never underestimate a service dog or the blind woman she guides. Officer Paulson faced criminal charges. The GPS tracking incident led to criminal charges against Officer Paulson. He was charged with stalking, harassment, official misconduct, and unlawful surveillance. He pleaded guilty to reduced charges and received 2 years probation, 200 hours of community service, and a permanent ban from law enforcement work in Rhode Island. "You violated the trust that comes with wearing a badge," the judge told him during sentencing. "You used your authority to prey on people you perceived as unable to fight back. That betrayal of public trust is reprehensible." Paulson was also ordered to pay $15,000 in restitution to Rachel for emotional distress and the cost of debugging and securing her sister's vehicle. Carmen, Rachel's sister, testified at his sentencing hearing. "I couldn't sleep for weeks after we found that tracker," Carmen said, her voice breaking. "Knowing that someone had been following us, watching us, tracking our every movement, it was terrifying. And the fact that it was a police officer, someone who's supposed to protect people, made it so much worse." The policy changes protected thousands. Frank's ruling led to sweeping reforms in Rhode Island parking enforcement. A new law, nicknamed Rachel's Law, was passed by the Rhode Island legislature, requiring all parking enforcement officers to wear body cameras, mandatory quarterly audits of citation patterns to identify targeting or quota abuse, a streamlined appeals process for contesting parking tickets, including virtual hearings for people with disabilities, Prohibition on writing tickets outside an officer's designated jurisdiction without supervisor approval, criminal penalties for officers who place tracking devices on civilian vehicles. Providence also implemented a civilian oversight board for parking enforcement, with Rachel serving as one of the founding members. Within 1 year of these reforms, complaints about parking enforcement dropped by 67%, and the number of tickets successfully contested in court fell to normal levels, suggesting that fewer erroneous tickets were being issued in the first place. Judge Frank Caprio kept the GPS tracker in his chambers. Frank kept the magnetic GPS tracker that was removed from Carmen's car displayed in a case in his chambers, along with one of the dismissed tickets. The plaque beneath it reads, "Evidence that abuse of power can hide in the smallest devices, but justice can come from the most unexpected sources, like a guide dog named Luna who knew something was wrong." Frank became a vocal advocate for reform in parking enforcement nationwide, speaking at judicial conferences about quota-based policing and predatory ticketing. "Rachel Martinez taught me something crucial," Frank tells audiences. "We think of parking tickets as trivial matters, but behind every ticket is a person, and behind patterns of tickets is often someone vulnerable being targeted. When we dismiss these cases as just parking tickets, we miss opportunities to catch abuse before it escalates." Rachel's final message: trust your instincts, and your dogs too. Today, Rachel continues her advocacy work while maintaining her career as a marketing executive. She and Luna are inseparable partners. Luna recently received the Service Dog Excellence Award for her role in exposing Officer Paulson's tracking operation. The 7 tickets were just the visible part of a much larger pattern of abuse, Rachel tells students when she speaks at schools and universities. "If I hadn't paid attention to Luna's behavior, if I'd just dismissed her unusual alerting as distraction or poor training, that tracker might still be on my sister's car. Officer Paulson might still be targeting vulnerable people." Carmen, who endured the stress of being followed and tracked, now volunteers with Fair Enforcement Watch. "My sister is one of the strongest people I know," Carmen says. "She refused to be intimidated. She refused to be a victim. And because she fought back, hundreds of other people got justice too." The 7 tickets that once represented harassment now hang in the offices of Fair Enforcement Watch, framed together with Luna's service dog ID badge and the GPS tracker. The caption beneath them reads, "They thought she couldn't fight. They didn't count on Luna." Frank's courtroom proved once again that justice means looking beyond the surface, questioning authority when it abuses power, and recognizing that sometimes the most vulnerable people are the strongest fighters for change. And sometimes justice has 4 legs, a wagging tail, and a nose that can sniff out corruption hidden under a car bumper. If Rachel's story inspired you, hit that subscribe button and join the All Rise family. Have you or someone you know ever been targeted by unfair parking enforcement? Drop your story in the comments below. And if you think Luna deserves the title of Hero Dog of the Year, let us know by smashing that like button. Remember, justice isn't just about the big cases. Sometimes it starts with one person refusing to accept injustice, even when that injustice comes in the form of 7 parking tickets. Thanks for watching All Rise, and we'll see you in the next case, where everyday people stand up for what's right.